This is KGW News at noon.
We start the news at noon with a tragic update. Police believe two bodies found yesterday morning are a missing mother and daughter from Vancouver. Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Braxton. Michelle Melendez and her daughter, Layla Stewart, had been missing for more than a week. Police say they found them in a rural area near Washougal. The Clark County Medical Examiner's Office is now working to determine a cause of death. Here's KGW's Alma McCarty.
On Wednesday morning, the Clark County Sheriff's Office got a call from someone who was walking on this rural road in Washougal. The caller described what they believed to be two life-sized mannequins down an embankment near a creek. But when deputies arrived on scene, they discovered two bodies. Investigators contacted Vancouver police, who determined this was likely Michelle Melendez and Layla Stewart.
This is probably our missing mother and daughter. The Major Crimes Unit from the Sheriff's Office is kind of handling the investigation as a homicide investigation, so detectives and crime scene folks are up there.
A Washington State Patrol forensics team joined the investigation, collecting evidence and speaking with neighbors on Southeast Wooding Road, which was roped off for hours.
The medical examiner's office will obviously be the final confirmation for anybody's identity like that, but wanting to be able to kind of provide that update and that information versus just having people wonder.
The 27-year-old and her 7-year-old daughter were missing for more than a week, last seen near Northeast Vancouver Mall Drive and 77th Avenue. Michelle's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, is officially a person of interest in their disappearance. He was arrested earlier this month, accused of domestic violence against Michelle. Warren appeared in court Wednesday morning, though his hearing was connected to a murder he's accused of committing in Arkansas.
Now we strategize on how to get justice for these two beautiful souls.
Michelle Bart leads the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation and is the spokesperson for the family.
Mom, our client, Nicole, is devastated, and she hasn't slept since they disappeared. The whole family, they're all in shock. They're upset. They're mad.
In a statement, they wrote, "The family is grateful for all the community support, and we ask that people respect the privacy of the family while they process and grieve." Bart says on Thursday they will be starting a memorial fund for two funerals, for Michelle and for Layla. In Clark County, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
This situation reminded us about a Washington law meant to protect women like Melendez. It's called the Tiffany Hill Act, and it was named for a Vancouver mom murdered by her estranged husband in 2019. The law allows the court to use GPS devices to track people accused of domestic violence. That information can be linked to an app on the victim's phone to alert them when the offender is nearby. Earlier this month, Clark County Court ordered Kirkland Warren not to have any contact with Melendez. An assessment determined he posed an extreme risk to her. And it's no exaggeration to say that danger was off the chart. Warren scored a 31 on a scale of 1 to 18. Despite that, though, prosecutors chose not to ask for electronic monitoring, and the court didn't order it either. Instead, Warren was granted bail and released. Days later, Melendez and her daughter disappeared. Domestic violence advocates say this is an all too familiar scenario and one that needs to change.
Why isn't electronic monitoring being used consistently? I think that that's a really important question that we need to answer. We need to understand the barriers to figure out how we can make sure that this is a system that works for survivors and our communities.
When KGW asked why Clark County prosecutors didn't order GPS monitoring for Warren, the prosecutor's office simply said no comment, citing the ongoing investigation. And just a reminder this afternoon, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, there is help. You can call or text the National Domestic Violence Hotline at the number on your screen, 800-799-7233. Also happening today in Washington, the Senate is discussing an assault weapons ban. It would ban the manufacture, importation, distribution, sale, or offer to sell any assault weapon in the state. It passed the House 2 weeks ago. The bill does not outlaw possession of assault weapons, just the transfer. The Senate Committee on Law and Justice held a public meeting on the bill this morning. People testified both for and against it. If this bill passes committee, it'll continue on to the Senate floor for a general vote. Okay, let's head back to the Weather Center where Rod is keeping an eye on the radar today.
Yeah, pretty rainy out there right now. We have the front that's now marching through the Willamette Valley. We're starting to pick up in yellow some heavier rain rates. And notice this is increasing snow at this hour back over the Coast Range. Indications that, yes, once the front passes, snow levels are dropping. Here's a look at a rainy Portland. Notice I-5 pretty slow down there at the bottom of your screen on the on-ramp getting to 84. 48 degrees. We were at 49. Temperatures are going to be holding steady to slowly dropping, it looks like, for the remainder of today. We are watching winds. Right now, southwest gusting to 33. We had some gusty winds at the coast, but the front has passed, and those winds have been fading away a little bit. Later today, the winds will be more westerly and more like 10 to 20 miles per hour out there. 43 in Salem now. So again, it's cool. Remember yesterday, we were well up in the 60s. In fact, Portland hit 66. So this is a very dramatic turn in events in terms of temperatures. 45 at 4 p.m. We'll continue to see heavy rain areas coming through from time to time. Could actually be some hail embedded. We'll talk more about the warnings for snow up in the mountains coming up a little bit later in the show. I do want to point out, though, that is snow over the Coast Range. So again, evidence that snow levels are on their way down. Maybe to the valley floor by tomorrow morning, Brenda. That's coming up.
See you then. Thank you, Rod. In the last couple of hours, we received reports that this Tesla had crashed into the Coda Portland Recovery Center. It's located at 1030 Northeast Cooch. The Portland Fire Department says the Tesla went through the glass wall and then pinned somebody behind their desk. First responders were able to free them, but they were taken to the hospital as a precaution, along with a co-worker who was hit by flying debris. The driver wasn't injured. Police are working to determine what caused that crash. Now to a major policy reversal in Clackamas County. It dropped plans to turn a hotel into transitional housing after the county's top elected official did a 180. Catherine Cook has reaction, including from the governor, who called that move stunning.
Project TurnKey overturned. Last month, the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners voted in favor of buying this Quality Inn and turning it into transitional housing. The hotel is on Sunnyside Road near I-205. Chair Tootie Smith had the deciding yes vote.
As a public official, we are trying to solve this problem.
But during an emergency meeting Wednesday, Chair Smith reversed her decision.
After much deliberation and heartfelt consideration, listening to about everybody in Clackamas County that's possible, I have decided to change my vote on Project TurnKey.
Most of the $15.2 million project would have been paid for with state funding and bond money from Metro. Those living here would have received wraparound services while transitioning away from homelessness. Many supported the idea.
We cannot continue to allow people to suffer, thinking that there might be an elusive, better hotel somewhere else, when there is a very real hotel that can help very real people here and now.
The hotel is next to a large strip mall with several businesses. On Tuesday, the property's landlord filed a lawsuit against the county, hoping to stop Project TurnKey. It claimed putting transitional housing next door would violate deed restrictions, suggesting it would be out of harmony with the restaurant operating within the shopping center.
I definitely see both points of view.
Ariana Sanchez eats here about once a month.
I understand that any effort as far as when it comes to the homeless pandemic or epidemic, it's something very serious. And I think any effort should be applauded. With that being said, I don't think that this location would necessarily be the most effective.
In a statement to KGW, Chair Smith said, quote, "My decision was not based on the lawsuit. It was based on community input." Governor Tina Kotek offered her own statement, saying, "I'm absolutely stunned by Chair Smith's reversal today. Project TurnKey is a proven model to help Oregonians move off the streets and into stability. This sudden vote was a very disappointing step backward at a time when every leader in Oregon needs to be doing more, not less, to address our homelessness crisis. During Wednesday's meeting, Chair Smith also criticized Measure 110 that decriminalized possession of small amounts of hard drugs. She argued it's contributed to crime and homelessness. She said addiction and mental health must be addressed before any real success for the homeless can be realized.
On a personal note, I do think Project TurnKey would have done that. However, maybe that project is too early in its time and can be addressed at a later date.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
A quick heads up. Tonight, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler will hold another online hearing on the first city-sanctioned large-scale homeless camp. This one will be on Southeast Gideon Street near Powell Boulevard. Up to 150 people could stay there and get help with things like food, hygiene, and safety. That meeting begins at 5:30.